Most people think that the dismissive avoidant attachment style is just constantly seeking to not invest in a relationship, and that is their major preoccupation. But a lot of dismissive avoidants actually need something else, which is the power and capacity for you to say no. So in today's video, we're going to unpack what that actually means, and we're going to talk about 4 major things that can completely change the relationship you have to the dismissive avoidant, starting with how you are treating the relationship to yourself. I also really want to talk about how if you are not saying no to a dismissive avoidant ever, what that says about you and what necessary steps you can take in order to heal, because it's not healthy to never say no. And before I dive into our 3 major points here today, plus the bonus part at the end, which is what you can actually do to truly transform this relationship, I want to hear from you. What do you think saying no will do that's positive for a relationship with an avoidant? And then you can go through the content and see if you were actually right. So let's talk about the 3 major reasons this has a huge impact, and then we'll go into what you can do differently and how to take some actionable steps towards completely transforming the relationship to yourself and thus the relationship to this person. So here's the first thing. Dismissive avoidants feel pressure, and I'm telling you this from literally having spoken in the past to thousands of dismissive avoidant clients. They feel pressure from their partners if they feel like they are the center of their partner's universe. So what this actually means, and I'll tell you one particular conversation that comes to mind around this. I remember speaking with a dismissive avoidant, and he was dating somebody for about 4 years. And he was definitely in like dismissive avoidance stage, but he came in to do the work. And he said, look, I'm here because it's time for me to get married to this person. I'm at the age and timing in my life and my family's pressuring me. And I don't know if that's what I want to do. And I want to go through all the reasons why with you, why I'm feeling afraid and concerned. And I want to spend a little bit of time working towards having just clarity as to what the actual solution is. And one of the very first things he brought up in terms of what was stressing him out is he said, I feel like my partner doesn't have her life outside of me. The friend group is my friends that we've built over the past few years. She doesn't have many friends outside of myself. She leans a lot more on me than she ever leans on family. And I'm like her major support system and source of support. And I get nervous that when we have other commitments in life, more serious careers or more demands from our job, children, all these things in our future, I'm concerned that I don't have the bandwidth to be her sole source of support. At surface value, you might look at this and judge this and be like, oh, this person's unavailable enough to be there for their partner. But the reality is both people were out of balance, right? So he definitely could have, and this is something he ended up working on, but in that moment, he could have recognized that, hey, you know what? Maybe it's okay for me to be relied on a little bit. Maybe I should work towards being more comfortable in that and seeing what I have to do to be okay with that. And he did. He did ultimately show up and do a lot of that work. But at the same time, you know, it's actually healthy for his anxious partner. His partner was anxiously attached at the time. It's very healthy for somebody to have balance across the 7 areas of life. And the most honest, just the analogy I have for this is I'm sure anybody who's ever learned a lick about investing ever, like just heard anything about investing, what's one of the first pieces of advice you hear? It's like diversify where you invest. And the same principle applies to us as human beings. If you put all of your eggs just in the basket of one person, then if that person's not available and we don't know how to self-soothe or show up for ourselves, or we don't have healthy friendships to lean on or healthy family relationships to go to for advice or support, or we don't have things that light us up as people in our career or personal hobbies or things that help us take care of our physical health or nurture ourselves mentally, emotionally, if those things are lacking, then actually that's going to make life a lot more challenging for you as an individual. And so being able to say no to your partner being the center of the universe takes pressure off the dismissive avoidant, lets them feel that there's more breathing room and less expectations, which 100% is going to make the dismissive avoidant go towards you, but it's actually healing for the other person to also not put all of your eggs in that one basket. And if in turn by doing that, you then see that the dismissive avoidant doesn't come towards you, doesn't make an effort, you're also not going to feel so afraid of leaving the wrong relationship if you're in one, because it feels terrifying to take a step back from somebody, even if your needs are not met, if you don't know how to get your needs met outside of that person. Okay, so that's point number 1. This is more speaking to our fearful avoidance, although anxious attachment styles have a little bit of this too. But being able to say no early allows you to avoid what I call people-pleasing blowups. If you've ever done this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People-pleasing blowups are when you withhold your needs, You say yes to somebody over and over and over again to try to, bid your way into their heart. It's like, oh, if I just say yes and do more for this person and show up better, and if I'm just more good enough, then finally they'll want to invest in me back. And so you're people pleasing and really self-abandoning and self-sacrificing. And then eventually that's going to hit a tipping point where you get frustrated and overwhelmed and angry and then blow up. Dismissive avoidance, they are not going to know that that whole backstory existed. They're not going to know that you were people pleasing all the time. They're just going to see, oh, this generous person is so generous. And then all of a sudden they're so angry. Why are they blowing up and being irrational like this? And that's how they're going to see it, rather than having all of that context of like, well, you were overgiving and you were doing so much and you actually wanted something in return. But if you didn't tell somebody what you needed, or that you needed somebody to be more present or more invested, or show up a little bit differently, and if you kept your needs close to your chest and hoped that if you just did enough, if you just did a little bit more, that finally you would win that person over, then you have to be able to communicate about that. That is actually something secure people do very well. They communicate. Now, of course, if you then communicate and somebody in a relationship then doesn't show up still, then you want to reconsider that relationship. Do you truly want to be in a relationship where you're sharing your needs and you're trying to meet theirs and that person's just not capable of reciprocation? That's a different story. But a lot of the times what you'll see, irrespective of somebody's attachment style, that if you get good at communicating and you do it proactively, people do show up to meet your needs. So I want you to think of this no period here, this idea of saying no, as there's a difference between a proactive no versus a reactive no. A proactive no is, I'm not going to people please. If I don't feel like doing something, or I don't have the room or capacity, then it's okay to say no. And it truly is okay to say no as a human being to another human being. But if you don't, and you're like, gosh, it's a no for me, but I'll just power through it anyways, and you keep doing that, you are literally on a one-track path to being a volcano that erupts. Like, it is just going to happen, because you can't overgive and under-receive forever without feeling resentful. It's just the psychology of how human relationships work, okay? So think of your proactive no as being really healthy, and reactive no. And I'm going to come back to this point at the end when we talk about what you can actually do in a big way to transform your relationship, okay? Now, point number 3 is dismissive avoidants don't want to feel like other people are dependent on their approval. If they feel like somebody's dependent on their approval all the time, they will be like, okay, that's too much pressure on me. I also feel like there's this lacking of like you having your own sense of self and self-confidence. And to be perfectly honest, dismissive avoidant after dismissive avoidant, they will have the conversation with you firsthand if you ask them directly. But they've told me directly, when I worked with so many dismissive avoidant clients, they just don't find that as attractive in a partner. They want somebody who can have, a sense of self and a strong sense of self-approval and their own sense of identity. And the less that that's there, the more that they often report feeling like they're trying to connect to somebody, but they don't really know who they are. They're like, well, I just know that this person needs my approval all the time and they're warm and generous, but who are they outside of this? Who are they outside of like centering their life around me? And when we fall in love with people, we fall in love with people's personalities and their traits and their quirks and their vulnerabilities and their needs. We don't fall in love with just the ghost of a person who's people pleasing all the time, okay? And I know that's kind of blunt, but it's true. And the beautiful news that comes out of that is that means that you get the opportunity, if you're not already doing this, to take up space in your relationship and actually be seen as more attractive as a result. It is a healthy thing to do. It is a securely attached thing to do. And so being able to share your true fears, your needs, your truth, as long as you're doing it in healthy, vulnerable ways, this actually really moves the needle in terms of closeness with somebody else. Before I tell you what you can actually do, you can learn your needs is the first part of this. And if you want to dive into learning your needs more, we are doing a spin to win promotion. You can win a free needs course for the rest of your life, or a free course all about how to become securely attached in your relationship and keep it for life. But you can also win a free month-long membership to PDS, a free 14-day membership to PDS. There's all these little free giveaways and prizes if you use the link down below. It's our spin to win. It's only up for another little bit of time. We're closing the doors to that soon. So if you want to gain free access to any of those cool giveaways, you're guaranteed to win one, and you can click the link down below. And really the needs course, by the way, is the course that you want to try to win if you can, because it's really in depth about, or the secure course too is really good. But it's really, if you're stuck or struggling with your needs, it's really going to help you understand, like, what do I need in a relationship? How can I convey that in healthy ways, etc. The last piece here is that in a relationship, no does not mean that we go from being in a relationship dynamic and then we just do nothing. This is not about subtraction. This is not about playing small and shrinking away. This is about, if you're in a relationship dynamic with somebody and you see that in this relationship dynamic, they're never showing up for your needs, it doesn't mean stop caring. It means no when you are self-abandoning, and listen to that and be like, wait, that's actually a no for me. Learn to feel what that feels like in your body and honor it. Honor your boundaries, honor your truth. But it doesn't mean just only be hyper aware of your no's and start saying them everywhere. It actually also means learn to ask for your yeses. Learn to ask for the things that are important to you. If you, for example, want more consistency in a relationship or want context about something you feel confused about, or you need certainty about making plans, this is about asking for your needs as well. And then also saying no to the things that are unhealthy or not working for you. And I know that feels scary because it feels vulnerable. And it actually feels vulnerable because you're having to show yourself, okay? It's actually, if it feels vulnerable to you, it's actually a sign of hidden emotional unavailability. If you're too scared to just share your truth with somebody, right? It's like your walls are up, really. Even if it's masked by the context of people pleasing and fear of abandonment, it's still its own version of being emotionally unavailable. And so if you can start sharing your needs, opening up about what you need, and also honoring your boundaries, those things together improve relationships, especially if you are coming from being a chronic people pleaser. I hope that's helpful for you. Let me know if you have any other questions in the comments down below. Don't forget you can check out how to win a free course for life or a 14-day membership or a month-long membership to PDS. You're guaranteed to win something. Free giveaway link down below. Thank you for stopping by and for being here, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.